I work for Viking Corporation. We are a manufacturer of all fire protection products, sprinkler heads, valves. We don't do steel pipe, but we do manufacture the plastic pipe. So down here, you guys at Sprinklermatic, and up in Simplex in Orlando, we manufacture for the whole country. So we're nationwide, actually worldwide with this. We use Blazemaster as our resin. So just so I can give you guys a little how it starts and why you're going to be hearing a lot about Lubrizol and Blazemaster, even though I told you guys I work for Viking, is Lubrizol is a chemical company. They provide the pellets, and they provide the actual, you'll see little pellets, and we take those pellets at the manufacturing level and we melt those pellets down and we spin the pipe with it. And we spin the pipe and it's labeled Viking Blazemaster CPVC pipe. You'll hear a lot about differences in the CPVC world today. Viking chose Blazemaster as a partner for their chemical compound. We chose that for many reasons. One of the biggest reasons that we have them is it's a stronger material. You'll hear about this, but it's an ASTM 06 versus 05. So as you guys know, other CPVC pipe that is not Blazemaster, it is not the same. This training is for Blazemaster CPVC. It is not for my competitors. My competitor in America is called Spears, right? So if you guys have heard of Spears, it's a competition. It's a different resin, and it's a different CPVC. The rules do not apply to their product, and we'll be a little bit more clear on that as we go. But so here we go.
That's the pellets?
That's the pellets, guys. So that's where a little introduction there. So Lubrizol produces the CPVC powder, and we license the manufacturer. As a manufacturer, we license that. There was a few different partners that do this. Viking is not the only CPVC Blazemaster manufacturer out there, but we are the only manufacturer that self-distributes Blazemaster. So what that means to you guys is we not only make the pipe, after we make it, we only touch it until it's delivered to guys like you that have been trained in the field. We don't hand it off to sub-distributors that mix it in with a bunch of other product and ship it out in any way they feel like it. It's a very distinct way of going to market with this product. So education training is key. You guys have been one of the leading in the South Florida market in that training, and we appreciate it, because this is the biggest thing. Is the manufacturer, when you guys don't install this properly, not only do you guys get in trouble at the contractor level and get brought into the lawsuits that happen, so does the manufacturer. So it's no fun for us to be in those lawsuits any more than it is for you guys. Training is key. Almost all the mistakes that are happening out there can be solved through this training. If you see a question, if you have a question, stop me. You can tell I've done this before. I kind of stay one step ahead of the slide. So we're going to go over some best practices. We'll do some codes and stuff like that. I feel like you might not be a fitter, sir. What's your name?
Leonard.
Leonard, are you a fitter, or what's your role?
No, an engineer.
Engineer. So guys, we do have an engineer in the room here. So Leonard will care about some of the codes and compliances that we have. But by the time it hits the field, guys like Leonard and guys in your design department have already decided that CPVC is okay. It's already been there. So you're not necessarily overly concerned. I'm going to touch very heavily on a couple of points that you guys will be concerned about, just that might happen in the field that on a CPVC job. We'll talk about that when we get there. Blazemaster, some advantages. Been around since 1984, Inspire Sprinkler. No corroding, no scaling. So steel pipe is allergic to water. Its biggest enemy is water, and we all know that that's what we distribute through our piping systems is water. So CPVC is not allergic to water. It doesn't corrode. It doesn't form to scale. Another thing that your design staff is very concerned about is the C factor. The C factor is going to be 150 versus new steel gets rated at 120. But quite frankly, once steel's been installed in the system and that corrosion starts to happen and the scales build up, that C factor drops. So as a 4-inch piece of pipe goes through its life cycle, by the time it's over a year, 2, 3, 4 years old, if you've ever cut one open, you know that 4-inch inside diameter is no longer 4-inch. It's been diminished. That's right. So CPVC pipe, that does not happen with. So that's and also for you guys installing in the field, it's a lot easier to walk up a floor of stairs with a bundle of pipe than it is a bundle of steel, a bundle of CPVC versus a bundle of steel.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
From steel to plastic, I heard this years ago at a job that the oils and everything that's in the steel goes into the plastic, which is deteriorating the plastic.
We'll address that. There was some MIC coatings because, like I said, steel is allergic to water. So the steel guys had to think of something that would make their pipe less susceptible to water. And unfortunately, they came up with a coating that in the past was that had some issues with CPVC pipe. That coating's been eliminated from the market. In fact, the company that had that problem no longer produces steel pipe at all. And also there's been and we'll address this, but the approval agency, FM is an approval agency, has gone out and actually approved now particular steel pipes that they say is okay with plastic. Plastic and steel guys are competitors by nature. The steel guys would not release that coating to the plastic guys for them to say if it was compatible or not. So FM picked that up because of those issues you're talking about.
Okay.
But that steel is no longer even in the marketplace. You can't buy the coatings that were deemed incompatible. You can't even buy that pipe in the market anymore. So we just talked about the aggressive water. So CPVC does not corrode with the steel pipe, but there's some instances where you can't use CPVC pipe. One very big one is ordinary hazard. So in garages where you guys see a tremendous amount of corrosion, it's not quite approved there. It can be done outside of its listing, but that takes an AHJ to be done. But you can see right there, Schedule 10 pipe has 47% less life expectancy compared with Schedule 40. But you guys all know at Schedule 10 is what's the standard around. You know, most of the time you're looking at Schedule 10 versus 40. And then there's the inside of a steel pipe. So that's what we were talking about there with the corrosion. I told you guys there's other people that make it. You can focus directly on the right-hand side, the big Viking. That's where we need you guys to stay focused. Look there, don't look anywhere else. But I am not the only one. So at the engineering level, when you do specify Blazemaster, contractors do have a choice. But like I said, we are the only ones that will manufacture and distribute it ourselves. Everyone else goes through another distributor who does not have the same care and concern for the product that they make. So here's some standards, codes, and approval. And we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the difference between light and ordinary hazard and maybe some exceptions to the light hazard rule. So one of the key things is Blazemaster CPVC is specifically designed for fire protection systems. It has a specific listing for fire protection. It's rated going, you can see there, operation of 170 PSI at 150 degrees, UL and FM approved. One of the testing that CPVC has to go through, guys, is it goes through a burn test, and that goes into a fire plume of 1500 degrees for 10 minutes. And so CPVC pipe does not just melt like you would think about a normal plastic. It actually chars on the outside. If anybody's ever seen it, it turns black almost like a marshmallow in a fire. That charring continues to make the protection better as it chars. With water running through it, it's extremely hard to burst CPVC pipe with fire. So you've got NFPA 13 for light hazard, 13R, 13D, and then underground water services. It's only available up to 3-inch, so far as the underground goes, there are some limitations there, but it is approved for underground water service. In your world, you're seeing it in 13 light hazard and 13R and D as a tremendous one. A little bit of examples of each one of those listing pieces. Light hazard, this is what you guys would see probably the most in South Florida, aside from the 13D stuff, but churches, clubs, schools, high-rises, big-time hospitals, libraries, museums, nursing homes, offices, theaters. So all of these are examples of light hazard. Once again, by the time you guys are on a job and this product's being delivered, this has been determined that it's okay to use. So you guys can kind of just assume when it's hitting your job site, you're good to go. One rule on that, so ordinary hazard does have, so you guys are installing CPVC pipe and you're running through a mechanical room, you're running through a laundry room, how's it going? Something to that effect. When you do see that, it doesn't mean you cannot put it in. There is an ordinary hazard exception. Anybody know? There's a cheater up there, but I'll make you answer it quick. Anybody know what the square footage is? It can be less than or equal to what?
400 feet.
400 square feet, right? So it says it right there in front of you, but if you know that, that's good. So anytime you do run through a mechanical room, you can keep the CPVC pipe running 400 square feet or less. Not a problem. So then 13R. So buildings like we see right across the street over here, multi-family, multi-story units, hotels, motels, apartments, condos, townhouses, student housing. Extremely, that's the primary form of protection in those types of pieces of CPVC pipe. Those types of arrangements is almost always CPVC. 13D, this is something that we're not seeing quite often in Florida because International Building Code was passed in 2011 stating that all homes needed to or shall be protected, all new homes. The problem with that code was all the builders associations throughout the country got together, lobbied different states, and most states have just gotten that completely removed from their code and ordinances. So in other words, homes in Florida do not have to be protected from fires. Just so you guys know, more people die in home fires. That's the way they die. It's over 3,000 per year, totally preventable. Our government, you know, when you guys hear different things, if you're seeing it on your social media things, different places going up to Tallahassee, we lobby heavily for this. The government spends a tremendous amount of money to save lives that would not save 3,000 lives a year. And so the problem with that is the home builders have a much bigger lobbying group, and they've managed to keep it out of most areas. There are certain states, California, Maryland, that are very heavy fire protection in homes, and they require it. Florida has only a few different localities that are requiring it. Unfortunately, Southeast Florida does not have any ordinances that are mandating this yet. So hopefully we're seeing more of that. But again, over 3,000 people are dying a year in home fires, and quite frankly, it's 100% preventable. ASTM, I mentioned this earlier, so Blazemaster has ASTM 06 rating, so when you guys get pipe from Viking or any other Blazemaster manufacturer, you're going to see a 06. I'll show you guys in the pipe when we're outside doing our practical exercise. 06. Non-Blazemaster CPVC has a lower average bursting pressure, so they were not able to achieve the 06 rating, and you'll see on their pipe they're in 05. So when you're on a job site or when you are specifying, and they say it is very important to specify a Blazemaster product, and that's the main reason. They're going to tell you we're listed, we're fine, we're okay. But at the end of the day, when we provide a product that has a lower bursting pressure in a field of product that people are concerned about the product busting as it is, my advice is why wouldn't you just err on the side of specifying the Blazemaster, or in your case using Blazemaster products. It's very widely used. It's not like there's a shortage of it. It's not hard to get. And it's easily proven right on the lines. And this isn't Blazemaster saying this. ASTM is a standard. It's not Viking or Blazemaster making this statement. This is a third-party person that had to rate these pipes for us. UL FM approved. Also approved for potable water systems. So if you guys are on job sites, you're seeing CPVC pipe. You're also seeing the plumbing guys use what's called probably FlowGuard Gold. You're seeing that gold pipe for the plumbing lines. This pipe is no different, it's just a different color. Same parent company, Lubrizol, produces the resin, just a different manufacturer spinning the pipe, putting a different color on it for a different use. But it is approved for potable water. All right, real quick, first one gets the answer. Give me an example of light hazard.
Church.
Hospital, church. Ordinary hazard? What's that? Pipe, there you go, garage. Yeah, not a school, guys. Schools are light hazard for the most part. Now, you do have some areas in schools, maybe the science lab, things like that could go to ordinary hazard. Installation best practices. So this is the main thing for most of the guys in this room. We're going to talk about how to hold it, how to handle it, how to walk with it, touch it, use it. Some of the common sense stuff that kind of gets forgotten because of the ease of use of this.
Blazemaster pipe and fittings are robust,
durable products. Proper handling and storage will help maintain the integrity and longevity of this vital fire protection system. It is recommended to keep all pipes and fittings stored in their original packaging until they are needed for installation. Before installing Blazemaster pipe and fittings, inspect the products to ensure there are no visible signs of damage. Avoid throwing or dropping fittings and pipe onto the ground. While Blazemaster pipe and fittings are strong and impact resistant, it is helpful to avoid unnecessary hits or stresses to the product. Never drag Blazemaster pipe around the job site. If necessary, have another site worker help move the product to the desired location. Avoid contact with petroleum-based products like cutting or packaging oils and lubricants. Blazemaster pipe must be covered with a non-transparent material when stored outdoors for extended periods of time. Brief exposure to direct sunlight on the job site may result in color fade, but will not affect the pressure-bearing capability of the pipe. These simple tips will help maintain the strength of a Blazemaster fire sprinkler system, allowing for safe and reliable fire protection.
So guys, a lot of that was common sense, right? You're not dragging it around. I know you guys, I know you're foreman, I know the guys that are overseeing you guys, and you guys have all been trained on this kind of thing. But I found some of those, so we're all good there. Just the sign-in sheets for everybody. But it does happen, unfortunately. Some of the things I see when I'm walking around these job sites, I see guys picking it up on the shoulder, and when it's time to lay it down, we're dropping it off our shoulder. You know, slow down a little bit. Let's lay it down. Let's lay it down and throw it instead of throw it down. You'd never take a bundle of steel pipe and drop it from your shoulder because it's, you know, scare the shit out of everybody, quite frankly. But I see people dropping this plastic, grabbing a bag by one end and dragging it. Not good. Don't do it. It's not the right thing to do. When it's on a job site, you guys will have stacked up on the floor sometimes. That's not a chair. It's not a seat. It's also not a chair and a seat and a lunch spot for other people in the field. So it's your pipe. You guys, we own this. We own this industry. It's not acceptable for another trade, just like it's not acceptable for you guys to go sit on this pipe, stand on it, use it as a ladder. I mean, I've seen it all. Like, you know, it's stacked up and they're climbing up on it to get to over here. You got to treat it the right way, okay? It is the way we're distributing this life safety product as water. We distribute that water through this pipe, and it's saving people's lives, okay?
No cracks.
That's right. That's right. And if you see something, guys, like so, the guys that buy the product from me, I offer a bounty. If you guys get a piece of my pipe, and you find it as you're installing it, and it's shaped incorrectly, if it's not going into a fitting properly, I'll tell you right now, I have a bounty for it. You bring it to your foreman, and then they'll come to me. I will bring a $25 gift card to the guy that finds it. I do not want pipe that is wrong for any reason, whether it's through manufacturing or through it got stepped on, set on, ran over on a job site, going into our projects. Because by the time it's installed and it leaks, nobody gives a crap how that happened. Okay, so you guys are the last person to touch my product before it's saving somebody's life or leaking, right? And so if you guys can find a piece of product that's not right, if it doesn't feel right, fit right, look right, bring it to the next level up. Get confirmation, save it, put your name on it. I got a $25 gift card for you, and you can take your wife out for a dinner or a drink, whatever you prefer. Or your girlfriends, or boyfriend, I don't know, whatever y'all want. We keep it inside. We also keep it in opaque bags. This pipe is not gonna, it doesn't lose its bursting pressure if it's been sitting in the sunlight, but it will fade and it will become brittle. I do not want you guys keeping it out in the sunlight. It's not a good thing. You guys actually even have bags if you need them to go from one site to another. If you do have quite a bit of pipe left over for some reason that came out of a bag, which you really shouldn't, you're not supposed to be taking it out of the bag until you need it. I know that's one of y'all's rules. But if for some reason you do, don't be shy. I provide a bunch of bags, original packaging bags. The team can get out on Thursday when you guys come in. You can request it. I'm sure the guys will bring it out for you. Don't throw the fittings on the ground whenever you're ready to go. Don't just dump them out on the ground. You know, that's just giving a chance for something bad to happen. Also, when you're keeping them, don't put them in your truck with a bunch of other steel fittings. You know, don't take a bag and dump the steel and the plastic all together. It's not the right thing to do. Keep them separate. Do what you're petroleum products. We do that. So just so you guys know, one of the things that Viking's very particular about, and you can be confident with, when by the time it hits your job site, we've already. In other words, if it's being delivered from Viking, my shops are clean. So my fab shops don't use products that are contaminated, that can contaminate CPVC. My local shop, my delivery shops, we don't stock any products that are incompatible. So my thread sealants, my pipe dopes, my cutting oils, all those products that we deliver to you guys ancillary to the CPVC is all compatible already. But it doesn't mean everyone else's stuff on the job site is, okay? So because we're taking that step for you guys, don't get complacent because other people's stuff on the job site may not have the same respect there. We talked about sunlight exposure. It's prolonged direct sunlight, guys. We're not talking about walking from one floor to the next with it. It's not a vampire, okay? It's not gonna die like that. CPVC glue. So there's a born on date, just like y'all's Bud Lights back in the 90s, had the born on date. We have 2 years. We move through this stuff so fast, I bet you're never gonna find anything that's more than a year old. But if you ever do, don't use it, get another can. Again, this stuff, we burn through this stuff in South Florida at a very high rate of speed. Very rarely will you ever see anything more than 6 to 8 months old. Pretty simple to keep it at the right temperatures down here too. We're very lucky, we have a great temperature range. 40 to 110, it's pretty much always 40 to 110 in South Florida. Using a well-ventilated area, many of you guys have ever, I'm not even going to open it up, but if you've ever used that stuff in a non-ventilated area, It's pretty damn strong, man. That solvent is pretty heavy. In addition to that, I ask that you guys, when you're using the CPVC glue, you're using it and you got the can open, you're using it, that's fine. But if you go take a break for whatever reason, checking something out, looking at your plans, let's close that can up. That solvent, I say very quickly, but you'll see it in just a few minutes, a skim over the top of the can. That doesn't mean it's bad, but that over time, the solvents are dissipating and it doesn't have the same effect. So keep your lid on your can when you're not using it. And even when you're walking away for a quick 5-10 minute break, throw your can on, because those 5 and 10 minutes add up over the course of a day or a week. How fast do you guys use a small can or big cans?
Big cans.
We do both. Got both? Okay. So how fast, is it a day? I've always wondered, about a day for a guy that's day and a half.
Going real good.
Okay. So you guys are flying through this stuff, so it's not like y'all are sitting on it for a week anyways, but at the same time,
But if someone asks me for glue and I get it out of my truck, that's the time to check the date, make
That's right.
sure, you know, Adam's got stock in his truck, but if it's coming through them, usually no problem.
yeah, you're gonna be fine. And again, you know, common sense stuff, we're not smoking around this glue, guys. We're not doing stuff like, y'all aren't even allowed to smoke on job sites anymore, I don't think, right? So that's been pretty much eliminated. But if you're on a job that has a lax safety deal, I bet everybody's company here doesn't have a lax safety deal for number one. Number two, stuff's flammable, whatever you want to call it. So another big idea, eye protection. Again, I think the safety requirements on jobs have gotten so strict, you're probably not walking around without it anyways. But damn, guys, this stuff getting in your eye is a beast. It does not feel good.
And you know, your finger and maybe wipe your eye, you feel that sting, right here,
So it's brutal, guys. You know, you want to use it. Hands, I don't know. You guys have got tough hands, so you're probably not wearing gloves with this. I get it. But eyes is massively important because you're looking up at it. It drips. It's in your eye, and you're on fire at that point. Cold weather applications. Don't put a torch on it to heat it up. If you ever do drop below 40. Very rarely are you guys installing under 40, but keep it in a warm environment if for some reason you move out of Florida and go back up north. Yeah. You had that issue, right? I mean, you guys had to think about that. So just out of curiosity, how did you guys keep it warm on a job site when it's below 50 all day or below 40 all day?
It's probably the biggest problem up there. So in the last 7 years, the temperature has started to drop dramatically. Before then, it wouldn't get as bad. But in the last 7 years, you're talking single digits, negative digits.
For the whole day, right? So what's your guys doing when they're installing the course of the day and they're holding this in their hand?
I'll tell you, this pipe has been the biggest problem up in Maryland in the last 7 years in the winter because there's so much blowouts. They're not very well insulated because they're back then.
Yeah.
They only had standards for minimal insulation.
That's right.
So properties and everybody is really having to upgrade all the installations, whether it's heaters, high expensive, really well engineered like installation to really insulate these pipes so they don't blow apart.
Yep.
And sometimes that doesn't even work.
That's right. So we don't have that problem. These guys down here have never experienced stuff like that, man. They're not even, it's very little concern of any of that, but that's a big problem. With my team up north, they have a lot of that with the installation issues, and we're going to train on that here in a second. I usually get to speed right through it, but you know why we train on that, because that is big problems with that. So cold weather apps, pipe and fittings can be installed down to zero. So it's no problem going down to zero, but it's if you can get in a heated environment, you're better off. Remove your moisture and ice. I mean, again, you guys aren't ever having that problem. So, ventilator, OSHA-approved respirator if necessary, protective clothing, gloves, safety goggles while solvent welding, dust mask when you're cutting the pipe with a power saw. If you guys do use that, the dust is no fun to breathe in for very long. Chemical compatibility. This is a major issue out there. This is some of the stuff that we were just talking about with steel pipe. This goes into all the different trades. So you guys are worried about this, but quite honestly, you're also the eyes and ears on the job site for other trades that may have come into contact with your pipe for reasons that they're supposed to or not supposed to. So fire caulk guy is supposed to come into your pipe. Electrical guy is not supposed to come into contact with your pipe. He's not supposed to hang temporary lighting off your pipe. He's not supposed to put his cables on top of your pipe. It doesn't matter if it's just for a few minutes. Don't let these guys use your pipe as hanging devices. They have their rules and requirements that they have to follow. You can
zip ties, guys.
Yeah.
All seen this stuff zip ties.
Yeah, they'll zip tie to your pipe in a heartbeat. They love it. Your top track, so you're up first. They come in after you.
Yeah, they don't want to put those straps up.
They don't want to put those straps up. The National Electric Code tells them they have to. I'm telling you guys, you can't let them. I'm not on the job site to police it, but the general contractors know better, and if they don't know better, I offer a free 1-hour class to the GC. Have your foreman set it up, you know, if you're running into the trouble more than one time. And then that way they can be put on notice as well.
About paint.
Paint is water-based paint is going to be okay, but I would just assume they don't paint the pipe. Don't let that come to your decision. That's if they want to paint it, AHJ needs to know about it. Developer owner should be able to tell you, but water-based paint's going to be okay, but there's not, oil's not okay. And again, you start covering up all the listings and approvals on the side of the pipe, and if the AHJ didn't know you were doing it, now you run into a problem with those guys. So.
As with any piping material, there are certain chemicals that can be detrimental to CPVC. Just like water causes steel pipes to rust, some materials may have adverse effects on the longevity of CPVC. Occasionally, some of these chemicals may be found in certain construction products, such as thread sealants, antifreeze solutions, or fire stop materials. It's important to note there are three main factors that can influence the performance of CPVC: chemical substances in contact with a pipe, mechanical stress caused by internal pressure and installation, and the overall quality of the pipe, which includes the base properties, manufacturing, and transport process. A number of very aggressive chemicals can create issues, even if the pipe is produced under high-quality standards and properly installed. In cases where the pipe is exposed to high levels of stress, as a result of poor installation practices, such as over-tightening pipe clamps, even less aggressive chemicals will cause issues by aggravating the overstressed condition. It is important to verify the compatibility of materials that come in contact with your CPVC system to ensure long-term performance. These issues can be mitigated through proper education and communication with all trades involved on the job site. Due diligence should begin during the job's planning stage and continue with ongoing thorough work practices. As always, be sure to follow the pipe system manufacturer's installation instructions. That's why Lubrizol, a leader in the industry for more than 50 years, has instituted the FBC System Compatible program. This program only applies to our brands and takes the guesswork out of choosing construction products that are compatible with FlowGuard Gold, Blazemaster, or Corzan CPVC products. As a result, contractors, installers, and engineers have easy access to a database of products that are chemically compatible with Lubrizol CPVC piping products. For more information on chemical compatibility and the FBC System Compatible program, click any of the modules from the main menu, or visit us at fbcsystemcompatible.com.
Basically what they're talking about here is the best place to find some of this. I told you guys about the app. Okay, so there is an app on your phone. Also right off the website, we all have the smartphones now, fbcsystemcompatible.com, blazemaster.com, all of these different links will eventually, you can get to the same place. But fbcsystemcompatible.com is the most direct spot, but we link to it in so many different places. And what this site does is it offers guidance on what is approved and what's not approved. Not only does it have all the products that have been proven to cause failure on a job site, it also has the products that have proven to be acceptable. And one of the things for you guys in the field, but also for engineers to understand, is Blazemaster is vastly different than our competition here. The program that Blazemaster is a third-party compatible program. NFPA 2013 edition, which we've just adopted, requires that now. And what that means is these companies have to submit their formulas to Blazemaster through Lubrizol, and Lubrizol then identifies all of these different pieces that's in their formula, and if anything is deemed incompatible, they're kicked out of the program. If once it's been deemed acceptable, they're in the program. But this is a contractual agreement. So in other words, if they change their formula, they are required to give us the new formula for us to recheck it. And what this allows them to do is not change their formula this week to next week. It's okay this year, but not next year. If it's on the site, and the site, I've got a piece of paper that has the acceptable stuff. I don't even like to give it out because this thing can change. So what I'd rather just you guys know is rather know this website, and if something's touching your pipe, or if you guys have a question, or if your general contractor has a question, you guys can very easily just send them to this link here. If it gets farther than that, you reach up the ladder to me. I can start to help out. So
so they go through you guys with questions.
They go through Lubrizol for testing.
Lubrizol.
That's right. So they're forced to send. They have to send in their chemicals that's in their products to Lubrizol. Lubrizol does the testing, deems it compatible. Yes, sir.
I know there's a chemical that most people get allergies, so the best thing they can do is just wear, when they're using the product, just wear a mask.
The ventil, like, what's it called? Not aspirator, but a vent. Is it vent? What do you guys use when the respirator? That's the word. Yep. If you have, this stuff is strong, guys. I mean, even in a well-ventilated area, it's strong. So
Well, I mean, if you're using it like 5 or 6 hours straight and it goes in your face, because I've seen people's face
And the
just
new
blow
can's
up.
pretty strong,
Yeah.
you know that.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're in a close spot in an attic,
if you're up inside the ceiling,
No, but your face just.
what you guys have thought your lifetime?
It gets red. Your face gets red. You feel the pressure on your face.
So there's some of the products, guys. Edible oils, petroleum, solvent-based sealants, lubricants, fire stop. Fire stop's one of the biggest things out there. You guys typically don't do your own fire stop in these bigger jobs. You'll have a fire stop company.
No, we do.
You do.
We do both.
You do both? Okay, so as you guys are doing it, I know for a fact you guys buy the right stuff. But the fire stop guy, he should be buying the right stuff. These guys know better at this point. This isn't something brand new. This didn't just come out last week. So they should be using it. Where we really want to be concerned, guys, is we want to make sure that the specification that the other people turn into the general contractor aligns with an approved product. And we can very easily look on that website to check it out. So I really prefer the GC to demand all trades use exactly the same fire stop. And if you guys need help making that happen, that's where I come in as a manufacturer. Because if I put these guys on notice and it goes into notes, if it ever comes into a lawsuit or disagreement in that respect, they go back, they say, Will was out here on March 25th and he told everybody we should do this. We looked at the submittals. All the submittals were Hilti FS1, and here it is. You guys have John's fire caulk from Home Depot. That's not what was in the submittals. It's not what we talked about on March 25th. Therefore, it is not our problem. It's, you know, but that's the only way we can protect ourselves is by protecting ourselves, right? So don't be shy asking the GC, or if you see something on a site that's not yours, hey, is that compatible? Can we do a quick check? I got my app right here. I don't see it on there. Why don't you hold tight real quick? Let's go get the GC, because that's on my pipe.
No, we do, like a lot of the kickoff meetings that I go to or the superintendents go to, there's a couple of things, you know, we bring up, and one of them is fire caulk, you know, and you know, we warn the general contractor, he gets real uptight real quick. Hey, what product do you use? We use the Hilti FS1. And a lot of times he'll mandate that that's what's going to be used on the project, so no one gets confused, you know.
Once you put them on notice, they become a lot more on our team. But if they did not know, which, you know, BS in the first place, but if they didn't know, it's a lot harder to put them on notice. Once they sit in the front of those groups and everyone's, you know, they're taking notes in the minute meetings, it's important. So if you see something that doesn't look right, say something. You guys are way more involved into the job sites than I can ever be. You're on every floor every day. So please keep your eyes open for this kind of thing.
What about that foam spray they have now, the fire stop?
Well, it needs to be, you know, it needs to be approved, right? I mean,
Let us know. If you don't know, we know. I can get with your Hilti, and I can ask them about the compatibility.
Yeah, because
And
I
Hilti,
seeing
our Hilti rep knows what we're using stuff for, so he shies us away from stuff.
you pull everything, all your fire caulk comes direct from Hilti,
Yes.
right? Yeah. And if you ever need a backup and it comes and Hilti doesn't, Vikings has approved fire caulk as well, but again, we're not the manufacturers of this, and you guys have such a relationship with Hilti. A lot of the contractors do. You can buy that direct, and the pricings will probably, you know, can maybe help you out. So you're already buying a bunch of other different things, but the thing we don't want to happen is a random thing of fire caulk sitting on your job site on a Friday afternoon, and you don't want to go down 40 stories to get the right stuff, and somebody just slaps in the wrong stuff because it was there, provided by a contractor that didn't supposedly need to worry about it. You know what I mean? So that's where it comes in. That's why we like it to all be the same. GCs don't have a problem with demanding it. You just got to bring it to their attention. Antifreeze, big problem they had. We've actually, there's no listed antifreezes any longer, so antifreeze in those freeze environments were a big problem. There's really nothing.
Unapproved antifreeze that works with CPVC.
I don't believe there's any approved listed antifreeze period right now, Clyde. I think they're having some major issues to get antifreeze listed and approved. People were mixing that stuff out in the field and making bombs in their piping systems. So that's a big thing up north. They're trying to work through.
They're thinking about getting rid of glycerin code.
That's right.
PA25 for it.
Because of that, and because what's happening is if you don't mix it properly and you have too much of that glycerin, and then you have a fire and the fire So then your sprinklers go off, and it produces a firebomb right out of your sprinkler system. So instead of flowing water to put the fire out, you're flowing too high of a glycerin mix, and it actually causes more of a problem.
Not only that, it's also heavier, so it's usually the water sits above.
And it's pure the glycerin's coming out.
Yeah.
So that's something, thank goodness, we don't even have to think about down here. The guys up north are going bananas trying to figure out what they're doing with that antifreeze. So the FBC system compatible program, that's everything I just told you about. It comes people have to, if we're going to say it's okay, they have to submit their formulas to us, and if they change their formulas, they have to let us know and then submit the new formula. The glue most of you guys get from us, it's going to say Blazemaster right on it, but if you're talking about other products that aren't necessarily Blazemaster product, this FBC logo will be on it. If you don't see one of those two things and it doesn't specifically say Blazemaster or have the FlowGuard, Blazemaster, Corzan, those are the three companies by Lubrizol. If it doesn't specifically have that, that's the see something, say something rule. We need to check it out. Let's make sure. It doesn't mean it's not good necessarily. It just means it doesn't. We need to double check. If it's not on the program, it's not on that FBC system compatible program, then we're going to need to take it to the manufacturer of that product and have them either give us the formula or have them tell us it's okay. And Adam's done that. He does it 5 or 10 times a year. I get a phone call from Adam. He's taking a picture. Is this okay? Lubrizol is pretty 24 to 48 hours back to us saying yes or no. And if it's a no, we mark the file. Okay, so it's very important, guys. If you see something, say something. Staying on these compatible resources, I'm just going to keep telling you FBCSystemCompatible.com, and it's a very simple program. You guys probably can't read this, but this says find FBC system compatible, review incompatible products, and review different notes. So things about like paint, because they don't a million different types of paint. They don't address every single thing of paint. They just talk about water-based, latex-based. They also talk about mold inhibitors, things like that. And once again, mold inhibitors are not designed for fire sprinkler systems, so they're not going to be on the compatibility program. So it's one of those things that if you see that happening and they're putting it up, we need to make sure that's going to be okay. Most of them are okay. The ones that we found that you checked out, we've deemed them to be safe, but at any given time they might not be. So if it's touching your pipe, we see something, we say something. And then again, if it's not on my website, if it's not on Blazemaster System Compatible, we're going to check with the manufacturer. This is a nice little notice. It doesn't have to be on your systems, but this is a good thing that I believe probably comes in from the paperwork side of your office, talking about you have a CPVC system and it's a life safety assembly, must be treated carefully, and there's some rules, do not rules, so that the owner knows what kind of system they have for fire protection. Here we go. So we had coatings brought up on steel pipe, and I told you guys that there was issues in the past. It did cause some problems. The steel guys and the CPVC guys are competitors. Steel does not, every time we do a plastic job, we're taking away steel material, obviously. So the steel guys are not ultra friendly with this whole thing. And in the past, they didn't give the right formulations. Things happen. So FM is one of the approving standards. You have UL and you have FM. UL is a listing. FM is an approval. It's not the same thing, but in the fire world, FM is almost always considered acceptable. In fact, in cases where it's an FM project, it overrides the UL piece. So there's plenty of jobs out there. We don't have a tremendous amount of FM projects down here, but when you do run into an FM approved project, the UL listings are secondary to the FM approvals. So in our world, FM works very well. And so what FM did, because of the issues they had on their projects, they're actually an insurance agency. FM Global is an insurance company, and they insure the buildings that we protect. And so what FM did was they said, well, we're going to take this over. They went to the steel pipe guys. They got the formulations because they couldn't deny them that. And they went back in and said, okay, these pipe groups are acceptable and deemed okay for CPVC. That's FM 1635. It was in 2013 they did this. Basically all domestic pipes at this point that are manufactured have been deemed acceptable by FM Global. Okay, some best practices. This is a review piece. I told you guys about the FBC system compatible, or Blazemaster needs to be on the ancillary products. You verify chemical compatibility. If it has the FBC on the packaging, you're safe. If it doesn't, we need to verify it. And you can download the FBC system compatible product finder app There's an app for that, and right off the website, worst case scenario. So cutting and joining techniques. Now, there's some rules. This book is going to be your guide here. So table of contents is your friend. We try to make this very easy to understand. You're not having to like grind through it. But you can see right there, joining, page 35 starts it all off. And this is going to go through rules, what you need to think about, times, timetables. All these things are, the time of how long it's going to sit, how long it needs to cure for, and then you're going to have some company rules here that we're going to let Adam make sure I say properly. If I don't, he can correct me.
Installing Blazemaster fire sprinkler systems can be quick, easy, and safe when following the proper techniques and utilizing the right tools. You should always review the manufacturer's installation instructions before beginning. And in addition to following standard job site safety protocols, be certain you are wearing eye protection and gloves during Blazemaster fire sprinkler systems installation. Cutting can be completed utilizing ratchet cutters, a wheel-type plastic tubing cutter, power saw, or a fine-tooth saw. Be sure to cut the pipe square. Square cuts maximize the surface area for solvent welding the product later in the process. Inspect the pipe before and after cutting to ensure there are no visible cracks or signs of damage. If damage is present, measure 2 inches from the end of the crack and recut the pipe. After you have cut the pipe, you will need to deburr and bevel the edge. A beveled edge helps to prevent solvent cement from being pushed down into the fitting upon insertion. Bevel the edge with a chamfering tool. Be sure to turn the tool in one direction. Once this is complete, use a clean, dry cloth to wipe away any loose debris and moisture from the pipe. Then obtain the fittings you intend to utilize and wipe any debris or moisture from them as well. Moisture can lengthen cure times, and debris can weaken solvent welded connections. Before applying solvent cement, perform a check. Insert the pipe into the fitting and make certain that it goes 1/3 to 2/3 of the way into the fitting and is snug. If it is loose or if the pipe does not fit in the connection, look for deformations or debris that might be causing an issue. If necessary, utilize a different fitting or pipe to complete the process. Now you are ready to solvent weld the connection. Make sure to use the proper dauber size in this process. For 3/4 and 1 inch pipe, use a 1/2 inch dauber. For 1 1/4 to 3 inch pipe, use a 3/4 inch dauber. Check the date on your can of solvent cement before applying it to any pipe or fittings. It is recommended that you discard any solvent cement not used within 2 years of this date. To create the weld, first put a heavy, even coat of solvent cement around the outside edge of the pipe. Without dipping the dauber back into the can, apply an even coat to the inside surface of the fitting. If you are using pipe larger than 1 inch, a second coat will need to be applied to the pipe before inserting. If the solvent cement dries on the pipe or fitting before you have a chance to join them, do not reapply solvent. You will need to cut a new piece of pipe or utilize a new fitting. Upon inserting the pipe, twist 1/4 turn as it goes into the fitting. This will ensure even distribution of the cement as the joint comes together. Push all the way to ensure the pipe hits the back lip of the fitting. Hold for approximately 30 seconds to allow the cement weld to take. Wipe away any excess cement on the pipe's surface. A continuous bead of solvent cement should remain at the fitting. Once the necessary solvent welded joints are made, including the sprinkler head adapters, allow for a 30-minute cure time before attaching the sprinkler heads to be sure heads are clear of any cement that could obstruct the waterway. It's important to remember that cure times can vary based on a number of conditions, such as temperature, humidity, and pipe size. Tables are available in the manufacturer's installation instructions. Now, let's quickly review the process again. First, measure and cut the pipe to length with an approved tool or saw. Ensure that the pipe is cut square to ensure proper joining. Utilize an appropriate deburring tool to bevel the outer edge of the pipe. Be sure to wipe debris and moisture away before proceeding. Apply an even layer of cement to the pipe first. Ensure consistent contact and make several rotations with the dauber as needed. Then, repeat the process on the inside of the fitting. If pipe size is larger than 1 inch, reapply a second coat of solvent to the pipe. Next, insert the pipe into the fitting while turning a quarter turn, or approximately 90 degrees. Hold for 30 seconds to allow the joint to take. Wipe excess cement from the outside of the pipe. After 30 minutes, you can install sprinkler heads for the system. Installation is simple, easy, and safe. Blazemaster Fire Sprinkler Systems are the premier choice of contractors worldwide.
So guys, a couple of things that could get overlooked that you guys try to do. I don't know if you guys prefer ratchet cutters or wheels. This will give you the best cut all day. It's a wheel type. It takes practice to get as fast as a ratchet, I think, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, if you're having to do a ratchet cut twice because you get that angle, or if you get that angle and you're cutting the corner and not recutting, you're giving us a bad issue there, because most of the strength, 2/3 of our strength, is in the back 1/3 of that joint. So if you cut your pipe at an angle, we're missing a very big piece of the strength piece.
And then that's on the installer, so that is on Sprinklermatic. That's not on Will. That's not on Will. That's not his product. That's us not installing it correctly. So we would be liable for that if the cuts, like he said, not square, but it also.
And when these things fail, guys, I know you feel like you do a million things, but when it fails in one spot, and they go through tremendous scientific analytics to figure out what the heck happened. They take slices of the piece. It goes under a microscope. It's just easier if you give a straight cut. If you guys don't give them a straight cut, it's a back door for, quite frankly, for the manufacturer to walk out of, right? So if you're not getting a straight cut with your choppers, get yourself one of these. This thing will give you a straight. I can cut straight with this damn thing, okay? And when the guys get fast with this, I've watched the boys that are doing this really good. They fly with this thing. They go just as fast as a chopper.
Absolutely.
You know. So.
Where you get that?
I'm sorry.
It's a reed.
This one's reed. That's right.
Reed.
That's a good one. That one's a light one. It goes pretty quick. It's, it sits in.
And that one pushes
like
in
5
and
seasons
then
on
slides out.
other ones.
So you can move real quick. You put it in your pipe, you slam it down, you tighten as you turn. You're pretty good. Like I said, the guys that get good at it are good at it. The other piece, guys, and this is something that everybody's watching.
Mandatory.
If you don't have one of these, you better ask for it today, because you're going to get yourself in a lot of heat if you don't walk. If God forbid your foreman comes on, or even worse, your boss man walks out on a job site, he sees you twisting pipe without having one of these in your pocket. The GCs know about this, guys. I mean, everybody knows. What is this? Yeah, everybody knows what they are. I give them away for free every year at y'all's yearly training, and they're not expensive. They're definitely less expensive than finding out you don't have one when you're installing plastic. You will get your butt handed to you.
I mean, mine's pretty dull. I need one.
Yeah, well, I don't know how you guys get that up the ladder, but tell boss, tell the next level up. However you guys get it ordered, we'll get them for you. I try to keep 50 or 100 in stock. Sometimes I kill my inventory, but I get them right back.
I mean, you're not fitting plastic pipe unless you have that.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That's in your bucket. That's what you use.
We're not using a wrench. I'm not. You know, there's no shortcut to this thing, guys. Don't tell them you're using your.
Honestly,
channel locks. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, because honestly, I've seen a lot of the guys use channel locks.
That's a shortcut.
And I get on them. And I tell them, no one use channel locks.
Slower. Like you have that.
It is, but they don't understand the constants when they use a channel lock. You mess up the face.
And this is designed to bevel the pipe. You go inside, outside with this thing, and you're gonna have a nice bevel. You're gonna see it on our practical exercise out there. And this is just too easy. Every inspector knows to look for this. Every GC knows to look for this. These guys don't remember everything I teach them in these classes, but the one thing they remember is y'all are supposed to ream your pipe, right?
Even if it's steel, guys.
What did they say the
Steel pipe. Ream it.
Well, you'll see out there, but when we make a cut on that pipe, you have a fairly sharp edge on the end of your pipe, and when you take that glue and you push it in, you ever take a squeegee down a window, and it just washes that water right off, right? So, but the bevel does is it creates a nice little beveled end, and instead of it just squeegeeing it to the inside of the fitting, it allows the pipe to wrap around there, okay? So basically it makes it where you can do it properly. Once again, we're going to review it all one more time. Fitting should go easily 1/3 to 2/3 of the way in. If for some reason that's not happening, guys, let's look at that pipe. Again, I offer a bounty for this. If the pipe got ran over, even if it's y'all's fault, still hand it back to me. I do not want you guys installing pipe that is oblong. It is brutal to us. It will cause a leak. We need a circular piece of pipe, and you guys are the last ones to install it. If you're having to jam it in and it felt different than the last 500 pieces you did, it's because there's something wrong, and it can happen. You know, we're dealing with millions of square feet, millions of linear feet of this every year, and you know, we're on job sites. Don't be shy. It's not a big deal. It's way cheaper. Trust me, it's way cheaper for you guys, for me to give you $25 than for us to have a leak.
Like if there's a leak, they cut out the whole fitting, they'll do a cross cut on it, and you can absolutely tell if it's been reamed or not reamed, or you know, or if it's a crooked cut, you know. And then they're gonna say, hey, you installed this. That's on you. Or us, or Sprinklermatic.
No, I had a crack before on the whole line. It was like 6 feet long, like in the middle was leaking.
Yeah. And who knows how that happens? Oh, they drop it off their shoulders, man. I mean, that's the stuff we
bring
see.
it to the job, bring it up to the
That's
floor,
right.
making sure it's really nice the whole time. You're not going to see that till you're pumping it up, or sometimes later on.
Yeah, but you leave a bundle upstairs, somebody might walk on it.
Absolutely. They run it. I've seen them run over a damn forklift, you know, and then everybody forgets they did it. Nobody goes and tells anybody they did it. Meanwhile, the pipe's cheap. You know, it's way cheaper than a leak. So the ratchet cutters, there are some rules on ratchet cutters. If you guys are using ratchet cutters, I don't think they're allowed to, right?
Yeah.
So
we use ratchet cutters.
So you guys do use ratchet cutters, but when it gets cold in a couple days a year, you guys will typically, Tim will call me up or whoever will call me up, and you guys will buy 4 or 5 packs of wheel cutters, because under 50 degrees that pipe has a tendency to crack. If you are using ratchet cutters, I want a sharp blade. Okay, we're not sharpening it. We're not using that like you sharpen your knife with WD-40 on a stone. You need a sharp blade. That WD-40 doesn't work well with the CPVC pipe. You don't put your lipstick on it. You know.
I got me a Lennox cutters.
Okay.
And they're awesome.
Yeah, the Lennox is great.
Yeah,
You still gotta get the blade sharp though. That eventually the blade will
do a file and everything.
It also helps when you're doing it to kind of spin a little
Right,
bit
right.
rather than just crush it
Spin it quick.
Yeah, spin a little bit, get it started.
Because the rigid, about rigid, I mean, like a couple of weeks, they bend and then they
so
suck.
to that weird cut.
Yeah, and they suck.
Like we use the Rothenberg or the clients are when they're sharp. You know, when things are sharp, everything's
Yeah, it's good, great, yeah.
That's the key piece, having sharp cutters. Also, guys, if you guys are doing any service like install work, so you're cutting a piece of pipe inside the wall, I suggest you use either a hacksaw, fine-tooth hacksaw, or the wheel cutters, because as that pipe gets old, the brittleness of it, the last thing you want to do is send a crack 6 feet into the wall, and that's a much bigger pain in the ass to change out. Okay, so if you're doing some service work,
if it's very stuck to the ceiling, you gotta recut. It's gonna be a problem.
As we said, hacksaw.
yeah, that's when you need the fine-tooth hacksaw. Little hacksaw works perfect for that kind of stuff. Those little mini hacksaws. Or the big one if you got room, but the little minis are good when you're
Good to get a
tight
blade with
space.
like 24 TPI or like 18.
Yeah, or the
finer
mini,
blade,
the finer the blade, the better. It would give you the best cut. So daubers are important. You guys said you use both size cans. That's great because on the small pipe, you're just totally cool with using the small dauber. That's great. But on the big pipe, the small dauber is a little bit tough to get a nice good coat. And what you'll also find is when you're on the small pipe, the big dauber loads you up with glue. You really got to shake it loose on the can. That becomes a skill you guys get on the job site of using the right amount of glue. Dauber size will help. You can use a big dauber on a small pipe. You just got to clean it off a lot more. So cut pipe squarely, deburr the outside of the pipe, inside the pipe. Apply your cement to pipe first. You go pipe fitting. Anything over 1 inch, we're going to go pipe fitting pipe. So 1 inch pipe, what we're going to be doing today, we're just going to go pipe fitting. But if you're 1 1/4 on up, we're going to go pipe fitting pipe. And then you insert with a 1/4 turn and hold. 30-second hold is recommended.
We all know, guys, the bigger fittings, you got to hold it longer.
That's
The
right.
smaller
So-
fittings take pretty fast, but a 2 inch or 2
Yeah,
and a half,
you're-
if you don't hold it on, it's sliding
It
out.
slides off.
And if it slides out, guys, cut it out and redo it. But once it slides, you got a problem on your hands.
Yeah, there's a little gas on it.
Yeah. It's cut it off, change your fitting. It's much cheaper than having a leak. The big pipe will pull on you every time if you don't hold that 30 seconds.
So, but sometimes we got pipes that we don't have extra pipes, so we gotta wipe down as clean as possible and then,
Yeah, I mean-
glue 'em, because I know I don't want to.
I hear you. I know job site conditions are tough and sometimes like that, but I have to
Because
teach.
we don't have extra material sometimes.
Recommended.
Right.
I know.
I have to teach the perfect way to do it, right? I have to teach the perfect way. That 30 seconds is very important when you get into the larger sizes. 1 inch, I challenge, you hold it for 8 to 10 seconds, I bet you Popeye can't pull it apart. But 2 inch, if you hold it for 8 to 10 seconds and let it go, air will pull it apart.
Yeah, for sure.
Sprinkler head adapters. This is something that we've a behavior that's been changed. Most of the guys aren't doing this wrong anymore, anyways. But if you have your little little helper down at the bottom, he's throwing in sprinkler head adapters onto your drops, and then you're gluing the drops in. You're busted. Okay, that's a bad deal. That's a death sentence right there, because that glue drops down into that sprinkler head. Nobody sees it. Nobody knows it. You pump the system up. Everything's great. Fire condition. Head pops. Death happens. And then when death happens, we start right from the top. We all end up in the courtroom, and all we're going to do is show a sprinkler head with glue in it, and somebody's in a lot of trouble, right? So we don't want that to happen.
To tell you the truth, it's better to glue the RC onto the pipe and then.
Absolutely, you should have that head should be. You heard it earlier. 30-minute cure time before you put the head on. So you do not want to have that head inside the head adapter and then go up and glue it from there. The head's the last thing you put on. Should have set for 30 minutes before you even do that. So I think you guys have gone to all tape now, right? Are you guys pretty much all tape?
All tape for sprinkler heads.
Right.
And sprinkler heads, we're all tape.
We're all tape for sprinkler heads. Okay. So quality Teflon tape. We're going to I think 3 wraps is probably pretty much industry standard. You're going to wrap in the direction of the threads, clockwise for right-handed threads. 2 to 3 wraps for your head adapters, and 1 to 2 turns beyond finger tight. Don't over tighten the pieces. Common sense stuff with that, guys. You're not trying to be so. You don't get credit for being so strong you break the plastic. You're gonna not get credit for that. Don't double dip. Don't put the thread sealant in the tape. It's not needed. It's not. 1 is good, 2 is better. That's not it.
Guys, we don't put pipe dope on our sprinkler head.
No pipe
No dope on heads.
Teflon, then pipe dope.
No.
Not on the sprinkler head on pipe.
On sprinkler head, they're not putting on.
On their steel pipe. Steel pipe.
But let's rephrase this. If you don't have Teflon tape, you put pipe dope. No, I said if you don't have Teflon tape on the moment. I've done it too, but I mean, very little.
We're not. We're taking
your company standard is Teflon tape.
We have Teflon.
You guys got thousands of rolls of that crap. Cut pipe squarely. It's the 3rd time we've talked about all this, guys. It's that important. Deburr bevel. Fit the pipe 1/3 to 2/3 of the way in, so it should go in that easy, and then tighten down from there. Solvent weld, go pipe fitting, 1.25 inches and over. You want pipe fitting pipe. Immediately insert the pipe. Don't take a cigarette break after you put your glue on there. Get it in, rotate 1/4 turn, hold it for 30 seconds, and your sprinkler should be installed in the sprinkler head adapter after it's been cemented in place. Give it a 30-minute cure time. Use only Teflon tape or chemical padded thread sealant. You guys are using Teflon tape, period. Okay? Set and cure times. This is going to be a function of temperature and pipe size. We're gonna move through this, but also in the real world, you got this book right here. If you have a question, you can look it up very simply. As you're pressure testing, fill the system slowly with water, bleed all air. Pressure test with NFPA standards. Fitting needs to be cut out if you find a leak. Low pressure air testing in some situations. We're not going to talk too much about how you guys do your air testing. Cut-in procedures. This is for your service guys, or if you're cutting into a wet system that's been active. You're going to go smallest diameter, closest to the modification. Obviously drain your lines prior, get it drained out, get it as dry as possible. Use your rag. We need a dry pipe for that. Same solvent welding procedures we talked about earlier. Square cut, everything we talked about, 1/4 turn, hold. We'd like to use a new can every time for this. This is just to ensure, this is because of the guys that are typically doing this, or service guys. We don't want to have a can of glue that's been sitting in the back of the truck when we're doing this. If you guys are in the field, your same can of glue, I mean, I guess that is what it is, but we're going to recommend you get a new can for cut-ins, and that's just to make sure that you've got a new can.
And we can tell if it's been glued while it's wet, it gets a little hazy. So you can glue it while it's wet and we won't notice.
It turns white.
Yep.
And once, I think y'all have 24 hours.
Yeah, if we're putting the water back on, or it's an existing system, we get 24-hour dry time. Dry time.
So with that, guys, 24-hour dry time
overnight.
Before we're filling it up, or next day. Okay.
A lot of the, when we're testing for inspection or something, for us, when there's never been water in the system, you know, I'll glue today, the next day I'll pump them in the morning, not 24 hours, but close enough. But if it's the existing building, 24 hours.
Right, that's something that's pretty important, and that's just in case it did have a little dampness inside of there, unless that glue get a good cure time.
What are you saying about do not pressure exceeding 50 psi?
Well, so we'll talk about air pressure, guys. So as you guys, if you ever see someone else testing with air, here's what the problem with that is. So water and air, pressure is pressure. 50 is 50, 100 is 100. It's just the way something busts on air versus water. And what you can think about is, say, a water balloon. If you pop a water balloon with a sharp needle, it pees out water. If you pop an air balloon with a sharp needle, it explodes, right? So the same thing will happen with pipe, except it's not a little light piece of rubber, it's shrapnel. So you blow this pipe up, and there's people there, and that air pops out, you got shrapnel coming at you. That shrapnel can go through drywall, it's not coming at you with a low velocity. When it busts, it busts. That's why, as the manufacturers, we're recommending you do not test with air pressure.
I mean, it would be better if somebody like they hear your story because
It's
absolutely
need to have it. If you're gonna do it,
yeah,
if you're gonna do it, this floor should be cleared. It can really hurt somebody having the plastic pipe blow up.
I've seen it hold 175 pounds, a dry fit.
Yep.
Drop, not in between, 175 pounds before it's shot down to the floor, and you know,
I could have been somebody under that.
yeah, exactly.
That's right.
We don't have tests.
What?
We don't have tests.
Yeah, you're not supposed to air test. Not recommended to air test with anything.
We do.
So once you get on the cut-ins, you're going to cut into an existing system first, smallest diameter pipe near the modification. Drain the lines. Obviously, we're going to do a drain. We're going to use a drain vac. We're going to get all that water out of the line. Same solvent welding procedures. We need a square cut, deburr, apply, dry, apply your solvent, quarter turn, hold. Fill with water, bleed air from the furthest high sprinkler head. Pressure test in an isolated area, do not exceed 50 psi, and do not use compressed gas. Manufacturer's installations for additional information, so that's where this book comes in, guys. If you have any questions, the book's with you at all times. It's in your toolbox, it's on your phone. We're not going to go do the practical test till afterwards, because I like to keep you guys all in one spot. You like herding cats, we'll let you out right now. We'll do that afterwards. Design parameters. We'll move through this fairly quickly, but if anybody has any questions, we can stop me out. This is something you guys need to know, so when you're transitioning to other materials, this is how you go from your risers to your floors. You're going to go from steel to plastic most of the time there. We're going to want to use a flexible grooved coupling for that application. We have grooved sprinkler head groove adapters. It's grooved on one end, glue on the other. Flexible coupling for that.
You can do slip by thread too as well.
And that's right, you can do slip by thread adapters as well. I don't know what you guys typically will use.
Depending on the size.
Depending on the size of the pipe?
Yeah.
Okay.
And 1 inch.
If you could thread it.
Thread it, right?
You gotta use the.
Yeah. So the larger diameters, I'll assume y'all are using the groove pieces. Once again, the groove coming from Viking, all of our pieces have been tested, they're compatible, so the lubricant that's on our couplings. Matter of fact, most everybody that has a groove coupling out right now has got their couplings approved, so you're not an issue there. This is something that happens. So guys, if any on 1 inch pipe, 100-foot run at 25-degree temperature change, and that's possible with us because it doesn't. I'm not talking about freezing conditions. I'm just talking about a change in temperature. So a 25-degree temperature change on a 100-foot of pipe will move you, will cause a 1 inch expansion. And that can happen, right? So there's 3 different ways to do it. 9 out of 10 times it's happening automatically in construction through a change of direction or an offset. But if you or even loops, so if you guys are running up over top of the places and coming back down, typically in the construction process, before 100 feet happens, you're having a change of direction of some sort. That change of direction will accommodate. But if you do have a long run and it doesn't have a needed change of direction, we're going to need to do something in that 100-foot to accommodate expansion and contraction. So you can do it with a loop, an offset, change of direction, and you see there exactly how it works. Hangers and supports. So the rules in the hangers and supports are going to be right there in your book as well. Different size pipes require different pieces or different. Hanger supports, page 47. So if you guys go look on page 47, you will see different size pipes have different requirements for how close your hangers are together. Okay, we're going to talk about a couple things in here. You guys will typically, at least from what I understand, most companies will lock in on one rule of thumb, and it's typically the 6 foot rule for 1 inch pipe. Some companies install 3/4 inch pipe, and when you're installing 3/4 inch pipe, that drops back to 5.5 feet, as you're going to see. Well, finish mine, we're going to do it all over again. Hang on. Kick back. Okay, so to go to the next video, hangers are there, preventing kickback. Everybody know what kickback is? We have our head in the ceiling. When that head activates, there's pressure applied, it pushes up. That hanger needs to protect it from jumping into the ceiling and watering down the ceiling as opposed to watering down the fire. So, a little quick.
What about if you put a surge clamp on?
A what?
Surge clamp.
Surge clip.
Surge clip? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's preferred method when you're talking about your loop hangers.
Or you can make
You can also, 1/4 inch down for your all thread rod. I prefer a surge clip. It's better, but that's what's kickback right there. That happens, and when that happens, that head goes up into the wall. So all the rules that we're talking about for hanging from these end of lines is going to be to prevent kickback.
Let me ask you another question, because I never really found it in the NFPA, but do you guys have a requirement on like the arm over lengths for hangers?
What do you mean? To how?
Yeah, like how far?
Yes, I believe.
The 6 inches.
From where it turns down, it gets.
But it's all around. That's all around.
I think that's a hanger requirement, Clyde. I don't think that's a piping determinant. One of the things that is a key piece, guys, you guys are always working in tight spots, and you have these short runs of pieces of pipe with fittings on both sides. And if you can imagine a fitting, you see it right here. So your fitting is thicker than your pipe. It's got to go inside. So that means you're going to have a gap between where your fitting is touching and where the pipe is in the air. And so when we're within that, when we're close to these guys here like this, the rule of thumb is we're going to upsize our hanger. Okay? So NFPA allows you guys to upsize your hanger. You're going to take a piece of 1 inch pipe. You're going to use a 1 1/4 hanger there. And if not, what happens is that pipe, CPVC pipe has the ability to move. But in close proximity, when it does not have a lot of room for that deflection to happen, you can get a stress crack in that. And so that's where we're going to upsize the hangers.
Sometimes we don't got the material, like it's not there, we'll go grab it and we'll just put it on a couple.
You'll put in a couple. You'll put on top of the couple. That's right. So you'll upsize your hanger and go on top of the fitting. That's not a problem. And it's all about you want to upsize there. You're not going to want to use a 1 inch hanger on a 1 inch couple. You're going to want to upsize it 1 1/4.
You gotta remember that with like bushings too. When you're bushing down, like, let's say you're going from like 1 1/4 to 1 inch.
Right.
That's a big.
It is a big deflection. So that's, guys. So NFPA allows for a larger pipes, a larger hanger size, and that's what you want to do. You want to go to the next size up on your hanger. Here is the hanger support spacing. I told you guys 6 foot for a 1 inch pipe. See, I got it right. And that becomes a if you're not touching 3/4 inch pipe, which not sure what you guys do up in Orlando. Down here, I know these guys, I don't sell any 3/4 pipe to them, so 1 inch is your deal. So it's easy to think 6 foot all the time. As you can see, when it gets to larger pipe sizes, you don't have to be every 6 feet. But if you're just thinking 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet, boom, you got yourself covered.
Question, right there it said 1 inch, 6 feet, right?
That's right.
I had an argument with a gentleman a while back ago, and he told me that the rules has changed. It went from 6 to 5 feet. I told him the rules hasn't changed.
You were right.
And what happened was he got upset because I called Viking for the glue, because he was saying how long's in the glue, and stuff like that, and the feetage. And I told him, he got upset with me because I proved him wrong.
Yeah, that's what happens.
He has more years of experience than I did.
But he doesn't have more experience than we do, right? That's where the book comes in.
That's what I'm saying.
So he can have as much as he wants.
But I told him, I said 6
right
feet.
and that's where the book. It would have been. So now you got the book, right?
Right.
So he's saying, "Sir, let's just double check it. Be like Columbo, right? Let me just double check. I'll be humble, right? That's y'all. Be humble.
That's what I told all the guys. I said, if you don't know, ask. Go on YouTube or call.
Get the
you know
book.
what I'm
Don't
saying?
go on YouTube necessarily.
Well, I'm just saying.
Probably got Clyde could be doing the YouTube thing, right? No, go to the book. If you need more of these books, I got 1 million of them, right? I give you 20 books. I don't care. We give them out to everybody, and it's gonna be the answer. It's gonna be the answer. It's gonna be in the book. So that's the thing. We wanna be just following the facts. You're gonna have guys that know it all. They're smarter than all of us. I get it. I do. Trust me. I teach these classes, and because I'm not in the field, I do run into a lot of people giving me shit sometimes. It is what it is. I just refer back very humbly and say, if I'm wrong, let's check. I got it right this time. I got lucky, I guess. So 6 foot's an easy number. That's why I did get it right, because I always remember 6 foot. If I'm going to be hanging 2-inch pipe, I'm going to go 6 foot on my hanger spacing.
Yeah.
If you run into a situation and you need to go 6.5, you've got the leg room to work off of.
Right here, see on the book, it says 5.
Where's that?
Yeah, but
Page 49.
no, but it's for the second.
49 or 47?
See what we got here, guys. Maybe I'm wrong.
6 foot for the 1 inch, but when you start maximum supposed to be
185.
Oh,
That's the
Yeah, okay, so you're talking about it. See, that's probably where you heard the 5 foot. See, so people have the half answer there, right? So you're talking about your support spacing an inline sprinkler to your head drop. So was that what you were asking, Clyde? Was your head drop right there? Is that what you were talking? So look on page 49. Your 1-inch pipe. So before your head, maximum support spacing distance inline sprinkler to the head drop T is 5 foot, but that's not your standard support spacing, right? So,
So the boat right, more or less.
well, no, because it depends on what they were talking about. If I was assuming you were talking about on your runs.
Yeah, on my
pipe.
runs.
If that's
On
what
my
you were
runs.
talking about, you had it right.
Yeah, I'm talking about my runs. You know
And
what I'm
that's
saying?
most of the time what people begin talking about. And again, this from the head drop T, he probably went to a class. He probably remembers this table.
Oh, he never
had
went to a
5 foot in
class.
his head. It happens. But the standard support spacing is going to be 1 inch 6 foot. That's where you guys are running down the ceiling, running down the hallways, running into the rooms. We're talking 6.
When you're putting head drops in, it's 5 foot.
5
You're
foot.
just running line.
Right.
Oh, I know that. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
and again, we're going to hit you right here, right? So there's what you just talked
Okay.
about, okay? So there's your table for inline hanger support, and that's exactly what you're talking about. So your distance from that T to where you're dropping in is 5 foot. And that's, once again, that's to prevent kickback. The last thing we want is a sprinkler head jumping into the ceiling once it goes off. Concealed installations, we got some rules here. So it can be installed in concealed applications, rated sprinkler heads over 225 degrees, lower. There's going to be a couple of rules. Most of these rules will already be laid out through the design team. So when you guys are told to put this product in and on your job site, it's already been deemed acceptable. But we'll still talk about a little bit of it here. Almost all of your CPVC installations are concealed anyways. So if you do have an exposed installation, you got to explain your rules. So this is some of the stuff. So look guys, quick response sprinklers are a must if you're going to be exposed. You've got to have quick response on exposed installation. Another rule, smooth, flat, horizontal ceiling when you're exposed piping. Decorative covering, sometimes they'll use that, forget the name of it, but a soffit, but then they have like a
Chase.
This has a plastic, some company makes some plastic decorative coating, so if you have pipe running retrofit over here, they have something that you can
you're talking about to cover the hole.
To cover the whole pipe. They have a whole like system. I can't think of the name of it right now. They sell direct.
Like chase it out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a chase, but instead of building it with drywall, it's just this. It's called deco cover, deco fit, and it just is a plastic stuff that covers it up. So it's saying it's okay to do that. Here's some of the rules now for your pendants, uprights, and sidewalls when we are talking about that. So remember, first and foremost, smooth, flat, horizontal ceiling, quick response sprinkler. But once you've met that, then we have some rules here. Your drops can't be more than 8 inches max from deflector to ceiling. Okay, for your pendant sprinkler, 8 inches from ceiling to deflector. Sidewall, we're going to go from 6 inches. Once again, it's got to be strapped directly to the wall, just like previously had to be strapped directly to the ceiling. We're going to be 6 inches deflector to wall. You can't run a line way out here.
I mean, sometimes they move the sofa and the sofa is too far out.
Well, if you're coming, but if you're coming out of that soffit, those are going to vary because if soffits have some specific rules, sometimes they even have to protect underneath it depending on how far out it comes. So that's coming directly off the wall. So that's an exposed. The soffit, you're not exposed anymore, right? So that rule's going to change, but depending on how far that soffit goes, it can become an obstruction underneath. And then sometimes they have to, if you've ever seen like airports where they have the soffits coming way out, you have the sidewall coming out one side and a sprinkler right underneath it, a pendant coming down. So, but if it's exposed, you have that 6 inches for exposed. Okay, no, that's not a soffit. Upright. So from the upright, you have 7.5 inches to the center line of the pipe to the ceiling, and 4 inches from the deflector. Okay, on a max. You can come closer, but it can only be 4 inches max. So got to get that sprinkler head deflector within 4 inches of the ceiling, and you can be a maximum of 7.5 inches from your pipe down. This is very rare, guys, just so you know. You're going to see this when you're going through your mechanical rooms with that 400 square foot rule.
This is just for exposed.
For exposed, that's right. So this is where you're seeing this. You're not seeing these rules apply in many places, but when you do see it, it's typically in those mechanical rooms, places where there's exposed piping. All right, so we talked about this. I had 3 different ways it can be done. How can expansion and contraction be accommodated?
By export?
No. Expansion and contraction. Remember, we're moving 1 inch for every 100 feet, 25-degree temperature.
Bigger hangers. You can do bigger.
No. Offset. What else? Change of direction. Right in the loop. Remember those 3 different ways? Yep, so those 3 different ways we can accommodate for it. Hey,
hell of a crowd.
Hey man, they see who's teacher, they come and they want to learn
They want
something.
to rub your head for good luck.
They already did, man.
I want to say hi to everybody. I got a kid's birthday party I got to go to, so thank you guys for coming out.
Yeah.
Showing Will some love.
Appreciate it.
You're doing it well.
Yeah, man.
You guys have a good day.
Robin, how do you accommodate expansion and contraction, man? You know that answer?
What is it, a loop, right?
A loop, you got it. That's on you. All right, so special listings and circumstances. There's going to be a couple of special listings we're going to talk about. Nothing too crazy. Most of this stuff, guys, we've already kind of talked about a little bit, but we're going to hit it anyways. So I have special sprinklers. I don't know why Viking's not the first name in the list. I would tell you they did alphabetical, but they didn't do that either. They jammed me up and gave Tycho first name recognition. But we all have sprinklers that are specifically listed to be used in these situations with CPVC pipe. Blazemaster has the listing to be able to do that. And what I mean by that, attic spaces. So in an attic, we have specific attic sprinkler heads, back-to-backs, hips, and single directional attic heads. With those specific heads, you can use CPVC pipe. Without those specific heads, you cannot use the Blazemaster pipe. If you're going to use regular heads, you can't use it. Low pressure dry systems, you guys aren't going to play with that down here, but 15 PSI or less, CPVC is now listed for that. Basements, not a lot of basements here either, but solid composite wood joists. So y'all might see that in your 13R applications. You might see some of that stuff. Your combustible concealed, it's called interstitial space. You'll see the seat, you can see need to be protected. We have coin sprinklers. If you guys saw online for our class last week, we talked about combustible concealed spaces. We talked about the coin sprinkler. And that coin sprinkler is the sprinkler that's specifically listed for that and for CPVC to happen with it. Once again, I believe if you're being told that it's going to be used, the team inside here, the specification, the engineer team has already deemed it acceptable. You guys don't really need to question that too much, but that's where you're seeing air plenums. This is something out there that, HVAC guys are notorious for being y'all's best friend. I get it, but if you have to run CPVC pipe around their plenums, you do not run it through their plenum. You run it adjacent to their plenum. Okay, it's totally fine to be adjacent to it, but we don't want to be inside of it. System risers in the houses. CPVC pipe's okay. Again, CPVC pipe, you're not using it too much in your risers on your high rises down here, but sometimes in the 13 R and D, it is 100% CPVC systems. Minimum protection consists of, you got to have a layer of 3/8 inch gypsum or wall board, and it's typically not. We don't like it exposed. There's some additional limitations, so just assume it's not exposed on your risers. Garages. This goes into the house garages. I'm not talking about big car garages that we see in our high rises. This is just your home. NFPA does not require sprinklers in garages, but local code and ordinances a lot of times do. California is a good example of it. They've adopted the home fire protection rules, and they require sprinklers in garages, and CPVC pipe is allowed inside of that. Freeze protection, it needs to be on top of the insulation, not between the insulation and the ceiling. Antifreeze solutions must be listed. There's as the last I've heard, they're not listed. They're constantly trying to find something, but as of right now, nothing. There's the glycerin rules there. I'm not gonna hold you guys to knowing what the glycerin rules are. And always verify chemical compatibility and local AHJ for requirements. Guys, the main thing you guys are worried about is insulation, and putting it on the underside of the insulation, not between the insulation and the roof.
You see, that's what I was talking about earlier with the glycerin and stuff. Because I remember reading that a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna email you the information that I got.
You can email it, yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's the glycerin's a huge. I mean, you'll find if you look up glycerin and fire protection, you're gonna find all kinds of stuff. You'll see some cool videos of doors being blown out of apartments and things like that. So, and again, goes back to the specific design requirements. We as manufacturers override the NFPA rules in that respect. So as we make these new products, the NFPA refers back to manufacturers' rules and instructions, and we have that taken care of.